What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Crazy Face Uno podcast. I'm your host, Shane McNeely. Just a reminder, Crazy Face Uno is inspiring others to do good and make a difference in our local and global community. And I'm excited to introduce my guest today. She's a friend from none other than Invisible Children, Jamie Landsberg. What's going on, Jamie?
Hey Shane, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. I've been on this, I've had a lot of people on from my Invisible Children days, but
yeah,
I think it's great.
Yeah,
because,
I've been seeing that.
Yeah, everybody's
it's been
like
kind of fun. I feel like I'm sort of, by association, like catching up with people just by listening to your podcast, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I know. I'm like really enjoying catching up with people too. It's been fun. I mean, everybody's doing different things now. It's just that was our jumping off point in a lot of ways,
Mm-hmm.
And the same for us. We became friends through Invisible Children, and we're off doing life now. We actually ran into each other again when I moved to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Crazy time.
Yeah, that was a brief time that we overlapped there, but it was kind of fun to see Invisible Children faces in my own stomping grounds.
I know. Katie Zuli's I guess Jessica. Did you ever meet Jessica Abt?
No, that's not a familiar name.
Yeah, she was like early on Invisible Children individual, and she's off doing some pretty cool stuff nowadays. But
in Minneapolis?
Yeah, she moved away. She came to Florida, and then she moved back. So I'm trying to get her on one of these days as well, but
cool.
Haven't been able to make it work yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's only a couple of people. There was a good handful of us there for a bit, and
nice. Yeah, I think Katie maybe moved there after I left, or
I got connected with her after you left, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Katie Zuli did a podcast a couple times now with us, and
nice.
She talked about Invisible Children. That was one of the early ones, so we did that in 2 parts because I didn't realize the length that we were going to be talking and kind of where I wanted to be with that. So we did almost 2 hours.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Plenty to talk about.
Oh yeah, always, right?
Yeah.
Katie, you are currently living in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Portland area?
Yes. I moved out to Portland originally in February of 2014.
Okay.
With Kimmy Trillo, actually.
Oh, nice.
And we moved into a house with Cassidy Myers, who was living with Jordan Fatke and Johannes Oberman.
Oh, nice. Good group of guys. Good group of people.
Yeah, and maybe one other guy. I don't remember if there was another one there as well. But yeah, like kind of a full IC alumni house. And then our other friend, Kim Eckroat. And so moved out here in February. Kimmy and I both kind of moved without really a plan for a job. She was hoping to work at Nike, and I was kind of figuring things out. Ended up working out out of like a vineyard and winery. They had a little, like an acre long vegetable garden, and they needed a farmhand. And I was like, sweet, I'd love to spend my summer out in the garden. Like, I'll be a farmhand,
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, I did that and nannied for them a few, here and there. And then I worked in their tasting room at the winery on the weekend. So I was kind of 7 days a week outside of Portland. And then I ended up meeting through actually Saren Oliver.
Oh yeah.
Played
More
in a band with. Yeah. She was playing in a band, and her bandmate was a sales manager at Dakine, which is the company that I now work for. So through him, I kind of got an in with Dakine. So I moved out to Hood River about 7 months after moving to Portland. Hood River is an hour east.
Okay. Is it kind of a little more sleepy, a little quieter?
It's kind of like, it's like a mountain town vibe. Super active, tons of action sports. It's like a wind sport mecca because it's in the Columbia River Gorge.
Nice.
So kiteboarding and windsurfing are big. Yeah, mountain biking. It's about 40 minutes from Mount Hood, so a lot of snowboarders and skiers. So that's kind of why, like, Dakine is an action sports company, and that's why they're based in Hood River.
Gotcha.
It's a fun little town. I think it's like 7,000 people that live there year round, and then in the summers it grows by like 3 times that for all the tourism and sportos that come into town.
Yeah. What is, I know this is like my ignorance, and there's probably people listening being like, really, dude, you're going to ask this? But like, what's the climate? Like, what's the weather like in Oregon? And is it different between like Portland and like Hood Mountain?
Hood River.
Hood River? I was close.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're close. Portland is rainier than Hood River.
Yeah.
Summers are absolutely beautiful.
Okay. So it's like
Oregon.
It's like Minnesota where the winters suck, and everybody has this idea of it just being this like terribly cold place, but it's actually like pretty awesome during the warm months.
I would even say it doesn't suck in the winter. It's like pretty mild here.
Well, here you're like in Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say because I would disagree with you in Minnesota. The winters suck there. Let's be honest. It's terrible.
In Oregon, it's not that bad.
Okay.
Like, the coldest it gets is, 30s probably.
Sure.
It's like it's rarely like much colder than that.
Yeah.
Especially like in the city. Mm-hmm. If you go like up to Mount Hood, like actually on the mountain, it gets colder, sure. Which is great for snowboarding. But it doesn't really snow like in town a whole lot, so it's fairly mild.
Yeah. Do you get into those like sports, the like action sports up there? And
yeah, mostly snowboarding. Okay. I grew up doing like snowboarding and wakeboarding and skateboarding and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of, when I first moved out to Oregon, I hadn't snowboarded for like 5 years, and then I started working at this action sports company, and I'm like, oh my god, all these people are like incredible athletes, and like they've been doing this forever, and this is a real mountain. It's not hills like in Minnesota.
Little bunny
but it's
hills.
Really it's really fun, and it's so beautiful out here. And the summers are great. I've been sort of learning to surf a little bit.
There we go.
Which is new. Never got to do that before living out here. So
much harder than it looks.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
It's like probably the most humbling
Absolutely.
thing you can possibly do.
I couldn't agree with you more. When I was when we lived in San Diego, I bought a board and tried to learn, and I stood up a few times, but man, it is so hard. It's not even that part, it's the hard part. It's like everything paddling to get to that part. Yeah, it's like there was a couple times, but one in particular that really sticks out to me that was actually Timmy Harris and myself and Carl and Jeremy, and we were all out there. And I don't think Jeremy was surfing Carl was surfing that day. He was just hanging out on the beach with us. But Timmy and we didn't make it out past the break. Like, we didn't even get out to where we could surf. Like, I threw up in the water because I thought I was drowning and like swallowed too much water.
No.
Like, it was a terrible experience. And I feel like I'm pretty athletic. Like, it seems like one of those things where I'm like, oh, I can do this, No, it's totally a different thing.
Oh yeah, it is. Very common to get your ass handed to you in the waves.
100%.
Just like trying to get out there. It's hard, and it's super intimidating.
Yeah. And people are like, oh yeah, like 4 foot, like, oh, or like 3 foot. That's like really small. Like, why don't you go? If you're like, are you kidding me? Like, have you experienced, you know what that means? Like,
yeah. Like, for me, that's like over half my height.
Yeah. Right.
3 feet to me is different than 3 feet to like a 6 foot person.
Yeah. For those listening and don't know Jamie, you are.
I stand at a solid 5 feet tall.
Atta girl, there we are. She hit that 5 foot mark though. Hey, that's all right.
Oh yeah, I might be like an additional quarter inch, but
yeah,
definitely at least 5 feet.
Yeah, you got to round up when you get to that point, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'll take it.
That's awesome. So growing up, you were born in Minnesota, correct?
Yes. Well, technically, I was born in Fargo, North Dakota.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was born very premature,
Okay.
which is probably why I was in Fargo at the time that I was born.
Yeah.
My grandparents were in like the Fargo Moorhead area,
Okay.
right, sort of on the border. Moorhead's Minnesota, Fargo's North Dakota.
Yeah.
And my dad was actually out of state for a work thing, and my mom went into labor 9 weeks early.
Mm.
And so,
That's really
anyway, yes,
early.
I was born super early, and that's where it happened.
Wow. Nice. But then you grew
Yeah.
up and your like family's from Minnesota though.
Yes, yeah, my family's all from
Aiken,
Minnesota.
is that right?
Mhm.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know exactly where that is, to be completely honest, and I'm from the area, but
Yeah, it's like up in, Lake Country where everybody from
Yeah.
the Twin Cities has cabins and stuff.
Sure.
If you know where Brainerd is, it's like a half hour east of Brainerd,
Sure.
or like
I
Mille
gotcha.
Lacs Lake.
Yeah. But when you came back, you like lived in the city and were your brothers and stuff. So you're one of 3
Right.
children. You have 2 brothers.
Hmm.
What was it like
Yeah, my
growing up
brothers
with?
are twins.
I didn't know that. Did I know that?
I don't know.
I've met them both and hung out with them before, but I mean, it makes sense
Yeah.
because they look a lot alike. But I don't know if I knew that they were actually twins.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they were born like 2 minutes apart, maybe.
Nice. Learn something new every day.
Hmm.
What was that like? What was it like growing up? Are you the oldest, or are they older than you?
They are 3.5 years older than I am.
Ah, so you're the
Yeah, so-
little one.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I don't know any different,
Sure.
but growing up with brothers was fun. I mean, we're still close. We were always close growing up, and I think I would be such a different person if I had sisters,
Yeah.
or even one sister.
Yeah.
But because I was always like, wanting to do what they were doing and like
Sure.
kind of following in their footsteps a lot, which was fun. I learned to do a lot of really fun, cool things,
Yeah.
and followed their taste in music when I was young and all that kind of stuff too. So music was always a big part of our interests and hobbies and stuff.
When you were growing up, who were like the bands you guys were into?
Oh man.
Yeah, we're giving away all your secrets now.
I mean, they were really big into like in like junior high and stuff. It was like all the pop punk
Yeah.
bands, like
Insane.
Blink, yeah,
Backstreet
Blink
Boys,
182,
Blink.
and like I don't even know. We used to. I remember the first like show that I went to. I think I was in like 8th grade maybe, and we went to the Drive Thru Records like Invasion tour or something.
Sure.
It had to have been like 2001 or 2, or probably 2002.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. We had a lot of we had like friends that played in bands in high school, and then well, they graduated, 4 years ahead of me. So
Yeah.
when they left, it was like being an only child, which was not awesome.
I was an only child
2 brothers.
growing
Yeah.
up, so I get that. It has its
yeah.
pros and cons, but you find, I'm
Yeah.
sure, and especially, I'm sure it was hard for you, like going from having them around to not having them around. I'm sure that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, it was a big change.
Like
I
you
didn't
said,
like.
like you said in the beginning, like you didn't know any different. Like I didn't know any different being an only child.
Yeah.
You just had to like
Totally.
be creative. I think about the things I did. I was like telling my dad stories of like, oh yeah, I did this, and telling my mom stuff like, oh yeah, I did this. And you guys were like, my dad worked next door. He was a pastor growing up, so he, I would hang out at the house, and he'd be just right next door because we lived in the house literally next door to the church. And so I'd do my own thing, and when I needed something, I'd go over there and see if he was free, and Chad or whatever. Like he was always close by, but you know, I'd
Mm-hmm.
rollerblade in the parking lot or play like set up these like what I thought were booby traps in this like big field mound back in the back behind our house, and I don't know.
So fun.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, you kind of have to create your own
World.
entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're an only child.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it obviously like has shaped a lot of who I am. Probably much like, you know, your taste, like you said, with your brothers and kind of like wanting to do the same things as them. And my like creativity and the way my brain operates and works, you know, it's just like such a fundamental time of your life that you had to like come up with ways to entertain yourself when you were young and not in school. So
Yeah, definitely.
So, you, two brothers, you grew up there. You went to high school in Minnesota, I'm assuming. How big was your high school?
Very small. I went to high school in Aiken.
Graduating class?
Yeah, my graduating class was about 90 people.
Okay.
Our school was grade 7 through 12.
Mm.
So it was like middle school and high school all together.
Yeah.
And
Mine was 120, so I'm not far off from where you
Oh,
are.
yeah.
So
You know how
I
it
got
is.
you. Oh, yeah.
You know everybody's whole family and all their family's business.
Yeah. It's funny because you learn to... You knew everything about people, and even if you didn't know them specifically, like, you knew about them. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I've found, and maybe you can speak to this too, but I've found it's just interesting, even as you get older, there's like a lot of things that you forget about people, which I think is good. And it's weird the things that you like remember, like you still associate them as this specific thing, right? This specific person.
Yeah. From
based
like high
on,
school or grade school or something even.
And something I'm like so like I look back, I'm like, man, I am so different. There's a lot of things that are the same, right? But like I'm just so much different than I was at that time of my life, and so it's like not fair, but at the same time you don't have anything else to go on. So like how do you, I don't know.
Unless you're like having one-on-one conversations with everybody that you have ever known, like that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's just it's the nature of the world, I suppose, but yeah, it's interesting. Do you find yourself that way? Like, do you run across Facebook suggestions are always the best? I just started being like, whatever, I'll just add you.
Yeah. I don't really use Facebook that much anymore.
Yeah.
But definitely
like Instagram or whatever.
Kind of like I'll see like random people from high school that were like not in my class, but like I'll be like, oh, that name sounds familiar, but I never really knew that person.
Yeah.
You know, so part of me is like, why would we connect now? Like we were never connected.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But like, you know, at the same time, there's some I think value probably in seeing what people are up to.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like I don't know. Facebook for me is so weird, especially you get it like being with Invisible Children and being on tour and stuff. You like have people adding you all the time.
Yeah.
And I haven't like purged any of that. Yeah. I haven't like purged any of that. So I still have these people that pop up and I'm like, now they're like married. And so they have a different name than even before.
Yeah. You're like, who is this?
There's legitimately people I'm like, I have no idea who that is. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. But
the number of people that you come across.
Mm-hmm. When you were in high school, what were you looking forward to, like, getting out of high school? Did you go straight to college, or what did you do after high school?
Yeah, I went to the University of Minnesota Duluth for my first 2 years of college.
Nice. That's where my wife went to college.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. What years was she there?
Oh, that's a good question. It would have probably been close to when you were there. That's funny. Yeah. I wonder. Yeah, because she was born 89, but she's 30 now. So yeah, we're like the same. She graduated, I think, 2000. I graduated 06, so I'm assuming she graduated 07 because she's like a year behind me.
Yeah, I was at UMD from 06 to 08,
So
and then I moved to Minneapolis and finished school at Metropolitan State University.
Nice.
Yeah.
What did you study at UMD?
Well, it was the first 2 years, so it was generals there.
Did you declare a major? You just left it open?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I left it open. I have, been sort of indecisive my whole life. And I was just excited to like be taking all different kinds of classes, and I didn't want to be like stifled into a certain track. I was like, I'm interested in that, and I'm interested in that. I want to learn more about that, and that looks cool.
Yeah.
Seems like a fun class,
Yeah, absolutely.
You kind of forget when you're going to register that those things cost money.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, when I moved to Minneapolis and switched to Metropolitan State, I went there because they had like an individualized Bachelor of Arts option where you could kind of design your own degree. Yeah. And they also had a Peace Corps baccalaureate program.
Wow. That's
cool. Which I like looked into, and I was kind of considering Peace Corps and stuff, and then I like did a little more reading about it and kind of like soul searching, and I was like, okay, maybe Peace Corps isn't really the organization that I want to go with. But and actually while I was in school at Duluth, I had seen The Rough Cut, and I like that lit a fire into my ass, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do something. And so I think that kind of inspired me to find some sort of like social justice type program or something where I could be like doing things that mattered for people, Yeah. And with people. And
was that always something that you wanted to do, or was that like kind of spurred by, some of the experiences in college? Like what led to, was there interests that you had like coming out of high school, or things that inspired you when you were in high school, or people that inspired you in the direction you kind of went and took?
Yeah. Originally when I went to school, I thought I was like, maybe I'll go into nursing. I don't know. Like I thought about it. Yeah. And, I worked as a nurse's aide in high school, at the nursing home, and then at the hospital as well in town. And I really enjoyed it. But I think I just got so excited by all the other classes that I could take, that I was like, I don't want to take a bunch of science classes. I think like the human service side of me probably stemmed from my family, and like I grew up going to a Lutheran church that was like very community service oriented, and so I was like growing up I was pretty involved at my church with the youth group, and like we would do community meals every week, and we would do community service in different ways, and do like kind of service work trips and stuff like that, where we kind of work in different types of communities. I
feel like that's the same for me. Like I don't subscribe to the same like religious beliefs anymore, but like I feel that they were so foundational for who I am, and I think that service and serving others and helping people was always something that was like elevated growing up, as like the thing you do, and the thing that you always strive to do. And I've asked this question a lot, like kind of like where's this come from? Because it's a theme in a lot of people that I've had on here, and specifically a theme with a lot of the people that have worked at Invisible Children for sure. In this like service and serving others and helping people, and it's something I've always wanted to do. And I'm always just really curious because, I can hear the stories from my parents of, oh, like, well, you always said you wanted to go to Africa and be a missionary. And I remember that. And I remember like third grade was specific to me. I think it was third grade that, I did this, I think it was like a geography class. So you did a project and I drew like Kenya, Africa. And I remember that really sparked my interest. And I always wanted to go. I always wanted to be there. I learned a bunch about this specific country and the city and, Nairobi and some of like the different stuff there. And I always really wanted to go and like do and serve and whatever. And I think it was just always an elevated thing, especially in the like Protestant Christian church or the Lutheran church, especially service is big in the Lutheran church. And I don't know. It's always something I'm really interested in with people and like kind of what drew people to live the life that they're living and that I've had on at least,
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody comes from kind of a different type of background and like, or different things that kind of drew them into it. And it's pretty cool to hear about.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. So you had that. I kind of cut you off, so sorry about that.
That's all good. Let's see. What was I talking about now?
Just kind of your path of choosing college and like the direction you went through, people that inspired you in high school or, things that kind of inspired you to go the direction you went.
Yeah. I mean, so many people that were inspiring for me, but it was also sort of just what I was doing, like with all my friends. A lot of my friends went to my same church or were involved in my youth group, so it was kind of just part of what we did with our time. And then I had like mentors through school and through my church and through whatever, who also just by nature were generous and like serving people. And it just kind of was a thing where it was like, it's part of life. You like, we all work together. We're all here, like getting by, we do it.
Yeah.
We like help each other out along the way.
It feels good to help people too,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I think that people shy away from like, in an effort not to feel like it's self-fulfilling or whatever, but what's wrong with doing something that helps others but also makes you feel good and helps you?
Totally. Yeah, there's definitely that side of it. Like, people do things for others because it makes themselves feel good, and because it's the right thing to do. Everybody kind of has their own different inspirations for doing things, I guess, or motives. But I think it's hard not to like feel good when you're doing good.
Yeah, it really is.
I don't know. Like,
there's just something about like,
how often are you like, shit, I wish I wouldn't have like helped that person out.
Yeah, I wish I wouldn't have made them smile.
It's a real bummer.
Like,
yeah.
That sucked, like, oh.
Or, had that conversation with that person.
Yeah, and I think it helps you like grow this, have a different perspective on life too, and it can aid your own self in that way where you can be like, man, I have a lot of things to be grateful for, and to just be more positive. And I think positivity is something that I know I am working on myself, of like just looking and being more positive and looking at things in a more positive light, and being a Debbie Downer. It's like you if that's what you're putting into the world, that's what you're getting out, like, I don't know.
Yeah, totally. It's all about perspective and like what you're going to manifest
for sure.
yourself. And totally.
So those things kind of, you feel like, led you down the path that you went?
I think so. I guess as far as like my choice in like path for my education, it Invisible Children thing was like a huge,
Yeah.
like just seeing the rough cut, I was like, all right, this has definitely like lit a fire, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And for those of you listening
and
that aren't familiar with Invisible Children, the Rough Cut is the first documentary that the founders of Invisible Children made, Jason, Bobby, and Laren. And it kind of, if you go back and listen to Bethany Bilesma, her podcast that we did, we kind of talked about it there a little bit as well, and we've talked about it in some of the different ones. But it's just one of those stories that really, like, when you saw it, it just inspired you to act and to move, and in a good way, not in like it was sad, yes, but it was also like hopeful.
empowering, kind of.
Yeah, empowering. Absolutely. Good point. Good word.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that film really did it for a lot of people. I would argue that that's probably what got most people into those doors that worked there and interned there.
Same.
Yeah, so I guess when I saw that, I wanted to like get screenings set up, and like whether it was just like showing it to my friends or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That had to have been in like 2008, I think. And then I think the first roadie group that stayed with me was let's see, I don't remember what tour that was. Maybe Frontline?
Yeah, Frontline would have been
2009?
Dan Krasner.
No, it was
that would have been
Pat Campbell, Becca Willis, Lauren Bazan, and Eugene Kim.
Okay.
Yeah. But Eugene has, when they were in Minneapolis, Eugene was gone for like some baseball game. Some like big baseball. Obviously, if I knew baseball, I would know it was a big deal. But so he was gone for that. But the rest of the crew,
Pennsylvania, was it like a Pirates game or something? That's funny. Yeah, so that would have been maybe 2000, like spring 2010.
I think it was 2009. I don't know. I think it was 2009 because I think I set up a screening at my school or something.
Yeah. Because I came in fall 2010. And I think Frontline was our tour.
Okay, so it would have been the one before that then.
Yeah. But
so
2009, 2010.
Yeah, because I finished school in December of 2009, so it was right at the end of before I was finished.
Sure. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it was fun, like meeting them, and then kind of fell off for a little while, and then let's see, the first Fourth Estate was, I think, the next time I got involved again.
Yeah. Okay.
And I went out for the Fourth Estate as like an attendee.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there.
So that was great.
That was really cool.
That's probably where I met you.
Probably. It was a few hundred people, but I'm sure we met somewhere along the way, and then you helped with an event after that, I believe.
Yeah.
That I kind of met you, and then you were coming in, like going to be interning at Invisible Children, and I remember it was along that way. You had wanted to be, you had wanted to work for or intern for Invisible Children for a while, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was always like, man, that would be so rad. Like, it's exactly the type of organization I want to work with, and like, I don't really know exactly what I would want to do there, but
yeah. You came into a really cool position, though, the production assistant, right?
Yeah. It was super fun. I'm so glad that was my position there, especially during that time. I mean, obviously it was a super crazy time, but I'm glad that I was not on the road for that tour.
Yeah. Seriously.
Granted, the office was absolutely insane as well, but
it was. Yeah, explain to people kind of what that means, like production assistant. What all did you do? What all did you help with? And
yeah, so I was production assistant. I did all kinds of different things, but I was in the art department, and my initial boss there was Kimmy Vandevoort.
Yeah.
And she, I believe at the time, was executive assistant.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe, or yeah.
To Jason.
To Jason and Ben and Adam and everybody.
Yep.
And so I was kind of like doing things under her, and then I would also help with kind of random tasks around the art department. Eventually she ended up shifting into a different role, and I don't remember what that title was, but Heather Longerbeam came in, and I was working under her then.
Yeah.
And I was doing
clearance stuff.
No, this was still
under production.
Still under production assistant. So, I remember scouting some sites for like shooting scenes for the film, and like getting procuring different props and things that we needed for stuff, and a lot of like errand running and coordinating.
Yeah, you were always
different kinds of logistics.
Yeah, you were the logistics gal in the back there, and I remember you were always like busy. You were always like going from to and from. That was kind of when I was in charge of the vans too. So that's one of the reasons you were like, "Hey, can I have a van?" I'm like, "Yep, I guess."
Yeah. I need something to haul things around or whatever. Yeah. All kinds of tasks. I don't even remember a lot of them, because it was different all the time, which was pretty cool, like showing up and being like, all right, what are we doing today? What's happening? I know I'm going to be getting lunch for everybody at some point, but then what else am I working on?
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun because I would get to, weigh in on or give feedback on campaign stuff or like art department, like posters and
which design do you like better?
Merchandise and stuff like that. What was that?
I said, which design do you like better?
Yeah.
Those were always fun. I liked when we, even as roadies or just as staff could go in and be like, pick the shirts essentially and kind of like vote on, I like this shirt best, or this one's really cool, or I feel like this one really describes the, what we're going after, or whatever it was. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Such a fun place to be in, so much like creativity happening all the time and just people cranking stuff out. Like, it was awesome. People worked so hard in that office and like in the art department.
Yeah, for sure.
So much time goes into each one of those projects. It's crazy.
Yeah, people don't realize, I guess, all the... I even think about that. Do you like see things through a different lens even nowadays when you like see a film that comes out, or even some of like the YouTube videos that come out, like these YouTube stars where you're like, honestly, you didn't take that much time to do that. Or sometimes it's the opposite where you're like, well done, like you put a little time and effort into that. But I see things through a different lens nowadays, even though it's like not cognizant, like I'm not like, but I definitely see things through a different lens.
Different kind of appreciation. For sure.
Definitely. And even just like movies, when they're like, it takes like 2 years to get a movie from start to finish, and filming and the way they piece things together, and I don't know. Yeah. Or even like that one prop I made, for Coney 2012. I was like, that took like 2 days. It was just me working on it.
Do you remember that huge red banner that we dropped off of the parking ramp? Yeah. It was me and I think Monica maybe and like Julia that painted that huge banner. There was one that went on the on like a billboard, and we did that in the office and like hung it up on the wall and painted it. And
then you got it on the wall, right?
Ripped the paint off the wall.
That God. Office took a beating, for sure.
Yeah. But so fun.
Yeah.
And we were all just like, well, whatever. It'll get fixed at some point,
I found...
but then that huge red banner that we had to bring like offsite into a gym or something.
Yeah.
And lay it out. Did you ever help with that one?
I don't think that one I helped with, no.
It was like... It was
I know which one you're talking about.
Long that it wouldn't fit laid out across a whole gym floor. And we had like, I don't even know how many people working on trying to like paint it or however we did it. I had to like sew that thing together because it was 2 sheets.
I remember you sitting in the conference room. Weren't you sitting in the conference room like sewing that together or whatever?
Trying to sew it? Yeah. So funny. Like I think I bought the like all the fabric stores in San Diego out of red fabric to make those things.
That wasn't the last time we bought the last red thing in the in that area in the country. I
Yeah.
found when I was moving, it wasn't like found. I knew I had it, but I have one of the like hard banners, like the like vinyl plastic ones that we were using for I don't know, one of the films that has like Barack Obama with the like Fourth Estate symbol, you know, the upside down triangle. And it's like a little smaller one. I was like, look, I showed my wife last night. I was like, did I ever show you this? Like, she was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, it's like one of those things that like someday it'll be really fun to like show my kids, or like,
Yeah.
she was making fun of me. She's like, when I was young, you know.
Yeah.
I still have a bunch of like the Invisible Children pins, or like the Our Liberty, you know, from the kits or whatever that we had, the frontline kits,
Yeah.
legitimately.
Yeah.
A bunch of those. Interesting.
I feel like I've lost so many of my things. I've moved so many times.
Yeah, and you
Over
just
the last
downsize.
however many years. Yeah. Just
Each
things
time.
fall through the cracks.
I know. I
with
have
each
to.
move.
I'm. It's funny because I'm actually wearing a shirt right now. What does it say? The very best Supermom shirt that we had. It's got paint all over it, and it's just an old like beater shirt, but like one of my Invisible Children shirts. I have so many of those that I never wear anymore. I'm like, I'll just hold on to them, I guess. I don't know. I don't want
Yeah. It's like, what do you do with them?
to. It's like I'm
I've seen
too
a lot of people
nostalgic.
that make like quilts and stuff out of them.
Yeah. I'm just too
I don't
nostalgic
think I'm
to like
about to
get
do
rid of them.
that.
I know. Same. We have too many blankets already anyway.
Yeah. Just in case you have like a 20-person sleepover or something.
Yeah, in case it gets super cold here in the
In Florida.
Florida. I always turn the air conditioning off before I record because it just sounds better and I don't have that noise in the background.
Yeah.
It just gets really warm.
A little sticky in there.
A little sticky, but it's all good.
Oof.
So you went from production assistant and
Mm-hmm.
you stuck around and you still work for Heather. I want to get Heather on here. I think she's done some really fun stuff and worked on some cool movies.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I gotta reach out to her.
She'd be a great one to bring on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked under her as the, like, it was kind of under her and the legal department as, like, a license clearance intern, which is a position they had to create after Coney 2012 was released, and there was all the backlash, maybe.
Yeah, it was just all the anything you hear. So, you know, nowadays, if you're listening, nowadays, like any of your YouTube videos, you know, maybe people have heard of like the adpocalypse, you know, where they really crack down on people basically using other people's music and material in your own videos. And so they cracked down on that and created some sort of an algorithm that, and I don't know when that algorithm came out, if it was Invisible Children time, but because the Coney 2012 video was so like in your face and popular, everything from that point forward, you know, I think they had worked on some of that before, you know, they had gotten different bands to approve different songs and stuff for our documentaries, but for some of the smaller YouTube videos, they didn't really do that, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think they really anticipated that many people would see it, so they were like,
no,
it's not really that, you know, big of an issue.
Yeah.
And then...
So everything you hear basically
that we had to...
is like has to be cleared through the person
you have to
who
buy
created
licenses.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to buy a license from the person who owns it to use it. And, you know, like everybody has to do that. At my current job, they have to buy images if they're using somebody else's photos or whatever. And you have to buy it for like the licenses for different types of use. And so if you're going to use it one time, if you're going to use it just on social media, if you're going to use it in a print ad, if you're going to use it in a video, like they're all different kinds of licenses. And I learned a lot about that doing that job because we had all different sorts of media in that video. And that was that was an interesting summer. I did that internship for the summer, and then in the fall I went out on the road for the first time.
Yeah.
Or for the only time. but fall 20 fall 2012, I guess it was.
Yeah. Real quick, do you remember how much it costs for like one song on like a video at the time?
Ooh,
I don't know what it would even be now, but I just wondered what that price was.
I don't remember, and it might depend on like how long the clip is that you're
Sure.
using.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
And like images also range in price too. It could be like an image could be like, you know, under $100 up to like a few hundred or whatever for one image.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head what the songs are. And I think it depends a little bit on how big the band is and
Yeah,
whether
of course.
they,
Agree to it
You
or
know.
want to.
yeah.
Yeah, because some of the bands would just give it to you
Hmm.
and sign off
Yeah.
on it. But
We had a lot of good bands that were supportive of us, and we're happy to let us
Yeah.
use their music thanks to our awesome music department.
yeah, I had Lauren on. Lauren.
Mm,
I always want to call her by her maiden name.
yeah. How do you say her last name?
Oh,
Her new last name?
Hang on.
Is it Coons?
Coons. Yeah. I
Okay,
like
cool.
take notes, you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
Coons. Yep. And so like I
Nice.
make little marks on there so I say it correctly. Like I asked you to make sure I got Landsberg. I always want to
You
call you
nailed it.
Landsbark, like A,
Oh,
but it's an E, so it's Landsberg.
sometimes people call me Land Shark.
Oh, that's kind of fun though.
I think it stems from the beer,
Oh,
Land Shark beer,
Yeah.
whatever brand it is that makes that. It's like a lager of sorts or something. Anyway.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, so you're roadie southeast area.
Yeah.
What
Southeast, so I had
what states?
Tennessee and North and South Carolina.
Tennessee, North, and South Carolina. Did you have a favorite area? What area were you in charge of?
I think I had South Carolina, if I remember.
Yeah, that's what's funny because I'm living
I
in
don't really
Florida
remember.
and I was in charge of Florida on my first tour.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, all of like Florida was my baby. So
Nice.
yeah,
So
went
that's fun. Do you keep in touch with any of your contacts?
Well, like during the hurricane.
Oh, yes, I heard this in one of your other
Yeah,
podcasts.
I reached out to a gal, and it was our host. She was actually the one that brought us to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Her daughters went there, and where the shooting happened in Parkland.
Mm.
And
Wow.
yeah, so she hosted us, and I like just reached out to her and was like, "Hey, so I'll start this off with we're prepared, but like, should we be worried? You know, like, is there anything we need to
How
do?
serious is it?
Like."
Yeah.
And she was like, "You should be fine. Like, it looks like it's gonna miss us. Blah blah blah." But she was awesome, and was like, our house is always open to great people. So like, if you need anything, like, you're more than welcome here. And it's just nice to know you have somebody that has your back, and if you need something,
Yeah.
they're not that far away. So like, we're really close to them already. But it's like,
Yeah.
ugh,
So awesome.
yeah, it's great. And those connections and those like those relationships that you build on the road are so cool. And just
Yeah.
invisible children in general. I mean, you currently live with or around, at least in the same area, of several invisible children people, and
Mm-hmm. And actually, Kimmy Cirillo was, so I met her at the Fourth Estate, and while I was there, I found out that she was going on the road after that, and her region was
oh,
was
nice.
Minnesota, was
Yeah.
the Midwest or whatever.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
so
'Cause she went with Dan.
We kept in touch. Yeah, she went
That's
with
right.
Dan.
Yeah, I knew Dan had went to Minnesota. I just can't remember.
Yeah. So they came through, and they, wait, did she? No, Dan wasn't on tour. He was on the street team with her. It was
Oh,
Lawrence
that's
Bremer
right.
that was with her.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's right.
That was during 2012 that she was with Dan.
That's right.
But anyway, yeah, so that's where I met her originally, and we just kind of kept in touch, and then they came and stayed with me. And then, I was like, I'm going to come work in the office. I'll see you there. And we just became like best friends.
Yeah, best buds. That's awesome.
And we still are. It's great.
Yeah, and she just got
married
married.
like last weekend,
That's so
the
cool.
weekend before.
And were you helped out with the wedding, correct? A little bit?
No,
No?
not with
You in
Kimmy's.
it?
No, they had a very private wedding, so it was just
Ooh.
immediate family at the ceremony, and then they had a reception where they
Nice.
invited some friends and family too. It was still a small wedding, and it was really beautiful. Unfortunately, it rained a lot
Oh,
that day, but
yeah.
everybody looked amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw some
It
pictures.
was
It
fun.
looked really cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So after
Yeah.
Invisible Children, you were a roadie, and then did you go out? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you went out to Estes Park, didn't you? After that,
I sure did.
you. I have not made it out there, and I'm so bummed. And Dan and Annie, who are both my
Uh-huh.
teammates,
Oh,
they're still
yeah.
out there. I need to go visit them. I've talked about this with Dan like 100 times, where I'm like, I got to come visit you guys, and
Yeah.
still haven't
Yeah,
made it
they
out
were there when I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went out there, I guess, after Invisible Children. When I left San Diego, I went home to Minneapolis for a few months, I guess.
Yeah.
December to February, which is when we were overlapping there,
Right.
you and I. And, yeah, and then no, I guess it was more like April, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't remember now.
It seemed pretty
Anyway.
early because we were
Yeah,
only,
March or April.
yeah, we like only overlapped for like a few months there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you had it
So
out.
I think April is when I went to Estes Park.
Yeah.
And
Estes has been this like, it's been this kind of overflow of Invisible Children for a while. It had been.
Yeah.
Because of, what's her name? Tamala? Her family was the one that
Tara.
Tamerlane. Yeah. Tamerlane. Yeah. Her family is the one that kind of owns and operates the chateau up there, right?
Yes. Pam and Daryl are her parents, and they built this really beautiful wedding chateau in Estes Park, like right at the entrance to the Rocky Mountain National Park.
Nice.
And I think, I don't know if they were opening it like right as Tara was coming off of working for Invisible Children, but
yeah,
it ended up sort of being like a halfway house for former roadies or like interns and stuff, because nobody made any money while they were interning.
Yeah,
so they would go work at bartend weddings and live on site, so you didn't have rent, so you're able to save some money.
Yeah.
And kind of process your experience that you had.
Yeah.
Before coming there, and then move along to the next thing. But when I was there, I ended up starting like an herbalism program at this school in Boulder, like an herb school.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Boulder. The Colorado School of Clinical Herbalism. Is that correct?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Nice. Tell me about that. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I think I just, found an interest in natural medicine and plant medicine and stuff, and so I looked into this program, and I was like, this looks really cool. I bet I could maybe do that while I'm working here. I want to check it out. And so I kind of applied sort of last minute. I don't know if it was even after the deadline, but I pretty much decided that I was going to go, and classes started the next morning in Boulder.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I just woke up and drove down. It's like an hour drive from, if I remember right, from Estes Park to Boulder. And it was like a Monday through Wednesday type of program. So I'd drive down each day. And then while I was living up in Estes, there was this crazy flood. I don't know if you remember. There was a really bad flood up there. Yeah, and it washed out miles of the both of the highways going out of Estes Park.
Yeah.
And so
that's scary.
A lot of the businesses in town had severe flooding and damage, or had to shut down, and people were heli rescued out of homes, or whatever.
That's
it was
crazy.
Pretty wild. But because of the roads being washed out and I still had school going on, I ended up having to drive through the national park to get down to Boulder, and that like doubled my drive time, but it was
Oof.
amazing because I got to drive through the national park every day,
Yeah.
or those 3 days, you know.
Yeah.
So it was cool. That was kind of the start of like learning about plant medicine and the power that plants have, which is really incredible.
Yeah. Anything that like stuck out with you with that, like that you really like learned or love or like?
I think just that like plants and herbs are like so much more powerful than people give credit to, like, which is kind of a dangerous thing, because I think a lot of people will walk into like a health food store and like buy a bunch of herbal supplements and be like, oh, whatever, it can't hurt me, it's just plants, you know. But it's like they actually are extremely powerful, and they can do damage if you don't know what you're doing, you know. But like so amazing at the same time. Like they can be so healing and so I don't know, they just amaze me. So
is there any that you use specifically in your daily life, like since taking that course or that class?
Not daily. You know, I've kind of not used herbs regularly as much since being in herb school. I still have a bunch of like bulk herbs that I've bought, and I've made like different oils and salves and things like that from them. And I've made some tea blends and stuff like that. But there's some that I would like to be using again more regularly. I really like some calming ones like chamomile or St. John's wort and things like that. But it's also another thing that was like really powerful to learn was that plants, like herbs and like pharmaceutical drugs, can have a lot of adverse interactions. And so when people are taking herbs like willy-nilly while they're on medications, or like try to stop taking medication and take herbs instead, it can be really dangerous. So I think it just gave me like a really healthy respect for, like, you know, you gotta kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just when people or when doctors ask, like, are you taking any medications? It's not just like those types of things. It's like also, interesting.
Supplements, herbs for sure. Yeah, all of that affects things.
I take spirulina and what's the chlorella?
Chlorella?
Yeah, I take that pretty much daily.
Green algae?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things.
Awesome.
And I like the fact that it's supposed to kind of take away some of the metals and, you know, some of the toxins out of your body, and superfood and good gut health.
Some energy.
And, energy. And I've been taking that pretty regularly for the last couple of years, and
awesome.
Yeah, I like it. I've gotten into like doTERRA, like the essential oils and stuff, and I got rid of a planter's wart on my foot with some
there you go,
oregano oil.
I was gonna say, was it oregano?
Yeah, awesome. It worked like a charm. I'm serious. Like I tried, awesome. I'd froze it, didn't work. You know, done that whole thing and tried some of the different things, and nope, nothing worked. But that seemed to do the trick.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like it.
See what I mean? They're so powerful.
I get it. Yeah, that's why I was wondering like what might be like the things. The thing is, they're expensive too.
Yeah. Well, it takes a lot to get those essential oils out of a plant, and those plants are so
you said you had made
delicate.
Some oils. What's that process like? What is it? Can't be easy.
So I've done kind of like infused oils with different herbs. So it's a matter of, you know, figuring out your ratio of like different types of herbs for balancing it out for what you are trying to do.
Yeah.
And then you just heat. I've used like almond oil, jojoba oil, olive oil, sometimes coconut oil, a blend of different kinds of oils, and then you heat them in like a double boiler on the stove with your herbs in there and warm it up to infuse it for a while. Yeah. And then you just strain all the herbs out, and
bada bing, bada boom.
You have an infused oil. Yeah.
That's
and if you want to do like a thicker, more of like a salve or you know, something like that, you just add like beeswax to it.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. And did I saw on Facebook. It's my creepy way of kind of having talking points. But I saw you did like the School of Holistic Clinical Herbalism. Is that like the same one, or is that a different
I
program?
briefly, so
Vital.
while I was in school in Boulder and like finishing out my program there, Kimmy had moved back to Chicago, and she called me one day while I was driving to school, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to move to Portland?" And I was like, "Yeah, girl. Like, I
Yeah.
tried to move here from San Diego, and I couldn't get anybody to jump on board with me. So,
Yeah.
I'm down." And so, yeah, she was like, "Well, I'm pretty serious about it. Like, let's actually make a plan and do it." And I was like, "Yes, thank you for like being serious about it. Let's do it."
Yeah.
And so I got home and I was like, well, let me just make sure that there's like a school there that has herbalism, because I'm really interested in this, what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
I want to see if there's a school there where I can continue learning. And I found this school here in Portland and kind of just was like, all right, I checked it out. Like, I'm down, let's do it. And because I already wanted to move anyway. And then I started the program there, and it wasn't really what I was hoping.
Okay.
It was like a little bit more sporadic program. It was like one weekend a month, and
Gotcha.
and their approach was a little bit different than what I had originally been taught. And so anyway, I ended up not doing that program.
Okay.
But then, fast forward however many years, I guess 3 years,
Yeah.
4 years, whatever that was.
Yeah.
It would have been 3 years. To 2017, I had always noticed this the University of Natural Medicine here in Portland.
Yeah.
I was living in Hood River, but I was like, man, it still is like on my radar. I'm still really interested in natural medicine and like food as medicine, because I feel like food is one of those things that everybody has to eat.
Yeah.
You have to eat, and you can either eat things that are going to actually heal you, like be medicine, or you can eat things that could destroy you,
Yeah. Processed.
But it's one of those things that you don't really get to opt out of eating. Like, you can opt out of drinking or smoking or like other lifestyle things that people choose to do or not do.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, I saw that the University of Natural Medicine here in Portland had a Master's of Science in Nutrition program, and it was like a holistic nutrition focused. It had a little bit of like herb background, and in my herb program in Boulder, they had touched on nutrition as well. So I knew a little bit, but I was like, I feel like food is the most approachable form of natural medicine.
Yeah.
Because
I agree. Because people like hear natural medicine and their head instantly goes to like pie in the sky, like a hippie idea of like what that means,
Mm-hmm.
But everybody has a diet, whether they call it, whether you call it that, it's a lifestyle, but like what you put in your body.
You have eating habits of sorts. Yeah.
It's your habit. Yeah. It's your eating habit or your whatever you do. So it's a little bit more approachable, like you said.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like you have to go out of your way to buy like
Whole Foods
herbal supplements, or like go buy, like pay for acupuncture, or go it's a thing that you already you're gonna eat something at some point. You have to. So buy your medicine in the form of food.
Yeah. What does that look like for you? Or like, what do you, is there something you do in your daily life that kind of like, that you would, I don't know if recommend is the right way, but like that you practice, I guess, of what does that look like for you?
Eating whole foods,
Yeah.
I have never, I'm not like don't have a super strong food philosophy around any certain diet, you know? I'm
Yeah.
not really a fan of like being a disciple of like keto or paleo or
Yeah.
vegan, you know. It's all so individual, and
Yeah. Everybody's body's so different.
every body is different. Everybody processes things differently, and like just because fruits and vegetables are good for you doesn't mean like every fruit and every vegetable is going to do well for everybody,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So, and likewise with, you know, breads and grains and things like that and dairy, like
Yeah.
some people do really well with that and other people don't. And so it's a matter of just individual
Yeah.
trial and error, I think, you know?
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
for me, it's eating whole foods, eating like more vegetables.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that I push on people. If I'm
Yeah.
going to push anything, it's just like eat more vegetables, and that's like a good start, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
That's always been my pursuit,
and
is like finding like a lifestyle that is sustainable. It's not just this pie in the
yeah, it
sky.
doesn't
Like,
have to be
yeah, like
all in.
I kind of, I've, a few years ago, well, probably shortly after, you know, like you left Minnesota, but I like got super heavy. My diet was crap and garbage and a lot of bad habits from Invisible Children, where you tried to eat on the cheap and ate a bunch of processed crap. And, you
Yeah.
know, I had such like, I don't know, just bad habits that I had acquired. And, you know, I'd had terrible like indigestion and like acid reflux and all that. And I had ballooned up to almost 190 pounds. It was like 89 and some change. And I was like, I think that was like 2016. And since then, I was like, I gotta make a lifestyle change. You know, I gotta start fixing what I put into my body. And I really had kind of prescribed to the low carb diet, and I still do. But it's more, I don't count like whole foods, you know, I don't count vegetables. I just try to like limit the amount of, you know, carbs that I put into my body, and especially processed carbs and sugars. Like, I have a huge sweet tooth, so I love ice cream and candy and chocolate.
Yeah.
And so that's hard. But, yeah, just those, like, I'm going to go, even though it's still processed, but what bread isn't, I go for, you know, a lower carb bread. And if I'm going to eat a processed bread anyway, I might as well make it a little bit lower carb. And
Yeah, or
in
just
some
find
ways.
like a whole grain bread that you
Yeah.
know is made from like good quality whole
Yeah.
wheat, or you know,
That's
whole
got more
grains in your
fiber
flour.
and yeah,
Yeah.
more of those like fibrous things. And yeah, I just definitely putting more vegetables into my life. And even
Awesome.
the way you cook those, you know, I mean, you can overcook a vegetable and take all the nutrients out. And
Yeah, that's been one of the things that was really cool to learn in school. Because I mean, so I guess I didn't say I ended up going to school for this Masters of Nutrition program,
yeah,
and maybe I did say that, I don't know.
I don't know if you
But
did.
I started school.
You did now.
I did now. I moved back to Portland in 2017 and started the master's program then. But what I was going to say is, through the program, we had a lot of, you know, science classes, but also a lot of like kind of culinary classes. And it's so cool to pair the two and learn about how different cooking methods for different types of vegetables, like what's going to maintain the most nutrients. And it's not like a blanket statement for all vegetables to do one certain kind of cooking method. So it's cool. There's so much to know and so much to learn.
Yeah, there is. And I feel like it's still a growing like place, growing industry, or I don't know what the right word is, but
For sure.
just the way food and, you know, the way we digest it, to the way it like benefits us to I listen to the Joe Rogan Experience a lot, and he has don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Rhonda Patrick. You should check her out. She's a scientist, but she's like big into nutrition and like what to put in your body and but she talks about so many different things, where it's like sprouts, broccoli sprouts in particular, and like some of the different benefits from eating broccoli sprouts and how to get these different, vitamins and nutrients into your body that have research into, combating Alzheimer's and memory loss and aging and, brain function. And nootropics is like a newer, aged thing that's kind of, I feel like, talking more about, and from mushrooms to, the different nutrients and things you put in your body. And I don't know, I'm fascinated with that stuff.
It's incredible. It's incredible what food can do. Yeah. And like the healing properties it has and the ways that it works in the body. Mm-hmm. It's really, really amazing. And there's more and more research coming out all the time on it. I just wish that there was, because it's not like a money-making thing, there's not much funding for the research. And so if there could be more funding for research, there would be more proof of how powerful food is as medicine,
I know. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's just, even doctors, doctors nowadays, like they're poor doctors. There's like so much, there's only so much information they can take in a given day, outside of what they do. And they don't have an easy job. But I don't know. I just think that there's so much more that we are more quick to prescribe something in today's like impatient society. We're more apt to like subscribe medicines and, pharmaceutical medicines versus like taking a more natural approach to things like food or your diet the things
change your lifestyle a little bit.
Yeah. And it's harder. It takes more time and it's not a quick fix, and that's hard in today's society.
Yeah. And some people don't enjoy cooking. Some people are intimidated by it, or they're not familiar with foods that even if their doctor does recommend certain vegetables or different things in their diet, they're like, I don't even know what that is, or I don't know
how to
prepare it.
What do I
and when
fix
I
it
do
with?
cook it, it tastes like shit.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing, know?
Yeah.
And so I think if people just had an awareness of like, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be like, overwhelming. There are simple ways to like to make vegetables or do even beans or whole grains in a way that like actually has really good flavor, and like using different herbs and spices to do that instead of adding a bunch of salt and like processed sauces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish that there was more like cooking community education around cooking and nutrition in that realm, Yeah. So
well, and it's out of our schools completely, like public schools. It used to be, you had home ec or whatever that was called at the time, or they changed the names multiple times, but that was like one of those that they
it's like the first thing to get cut.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that, and then the arts, and it's crazy.
Yeah. So that's the thing that I am interested in is just that, like, community education around cooking and nutrition. And through my program, I did a training to kind of implement this food as medicine curriculum in communities. And so now I'm kind of in the process of figuring out, what my next steps are now that I'm done with school. I finished at the end of June.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah. It was, it's interesting to be done with it now and be like, now what? But there's, it's a pretty open opportunity. There's a lot of different ways you can take it. So, and it sounds like it's something that, it's been a part of your life and something that you care a lot about, and that brings you joy in some way or fashion, and a theme that keeps popping up on the podcast with different guests is like living life on purpose, and just finding those things that bring you purpose and fulfillment, and kind of following that path. And it's not a linear path, it's not this like,
hey, there it is. But it just seems that as the more and more people I've talked to and they've found those like things that have brought them purpose and brought them joy, and that they continue to like push into that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, you know? So it sounds like you're on that path as well and still figuring things out, but you know, that's half the fun.
Yeah. Transition time is where you kind of learn the most and make some pivots.
Yeah, it gives you it's a good growth opportunity in those moments for sure. I feel that right now with this transition to Florida and, you know, with Crazy Face Uno and stuff. So
yeah, kind of try out a bunch of different things and see what sticks.
Yeah, for sure. I know.
Yeah.
So Jamie, you've kind of touched on it, but maybe to close things out, I would like to ask, like, what should we know about you? Like, if people were to meet you for the first time, what are, like, if you can name three things that, like, you would want people to know about you?
Oh, wow.
Oh, right. Tough question. Put you on the spot.
Yeah, really. What do I want people to know about me? I give great hugs.
Good one.
That's an important thing. Never be shy to give me a hug if you see me.
Yeah.
I don't know, what kind of things are we looking for here?
Nothing looking for anything, just what you think, like, if you were to meet somebody for the first time, if you were to go and be at like a social where it's like, what should I know about you? What are three things? You got one, you give great hugs. Did you feel this? I felt this big time after leaving Invisible Children, because Invisible Children was such this like close-knit group of people and very huggy. Did you leave Invisible Children and were like, where's the physical touch?
People don't hug each other.
No.
What's up with that? Yeah.
Seriously, like, I felt that so much, and you know, I lived with my friends, you know, Sam and those guys, but it would be weird for me to like wake up in the morning and be like, dude, give me a hug, man. Like,
they're like, get off me.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Get away from me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, I think in the Northwest too, there's a lot of people are kind of less touchy and affectionate, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a blanket statement. It's not for everyone, but
yeah.
You know, it's like I've heard people be like, "Oh, she's a hugger," or like, you know, stuff like that, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
some people really aren't comfortable with hugging, and I'm not gonna like force myself on somebody. Obviously,
yeah. My wife is always like, "Can I give you a hug?" It's like a great way, but it's like, I don't know. It's obviously different between males and females, you know, like.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be weird if I was like, "Can I give you a hug?" You know, depending on the scenario. So. Yeah,
maybe. I think I've backed off on my hugging and
same.
And like physical interaction with people quite a bit since I've lived here. Unfortunately, I just wish that everybody would hug each other, but you know, not everybody's in that boat, and I respect that.
Yeah, totally. I get it.
Yeah. I guess that's what else do I want people to know? Transition. I'm in transition.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's part of life that we all do
at
some point or another, and learning opportunities. So
for sure,
kind of exploring that right now. I don't know. I don't know where to take this.
That's okay. If you don't have a third one, that's okay.
Third thing.
No worries. Yeah. You anything you want to leave our listeners with before we close things out?
I don't think so. Just happy to reconnect, and if anybody's listening and wants to reconnect, please reach out. It'd be great. I love hearing from people.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on and taking your time and
for sure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna close things out. Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Shane.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys listening. Hey, if you have a couple minutes, go check out our online store, crazyfaceuno.com. The upper right hand side, you can find our store. Buy a mug. Check out our mugs that we have. The money goes back into Crazy Face Uno and inspiring others to do good and make a difference. You can also have the opportunity to donate if you would rather donate instead of buying a mug. Follow us on social media, Crazy Face Uno. You can search Crazy Face Uno and find us pretty much wherever you're involved in social media. We appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for listening. Peace!